everyone. This is a video demonstration where I'm going to show you just like the basic tools that you are going to need. It's a very straightforward assignment. We're going to just be making little gray scales. We're going to make 3 of them. Each are going to have 9 squares in them. And we're just going to be exploring what happens with our tools as we try to create different gray values from black to white. So just for you visual learners, to make this a little bit easier for you, started out with, I'm going to do this on a gridded piece of paper. Now this isn't necessary, you don't need a gridded piece of paper, but you can use a gridded piece of paper to create the straight lines, to create the gray scale change of value swatch, or you can just use your hand. Humans are capable of creating a straight line within practice, so rulers aren't always necessary, but obviously they're great for measuring, they're great for guiding. You'll definitely need a ruler if you don't have the gridded paper. What's nice about the gridded paper is that each of these larger squares here, they already are at a perfect size for me. They're a inch high by an inch wide. And so I'm going to make 3 of these. It doesn't really matter where you orient them on your page. I guess keep it sort of central is nice. You're going to be making 3, as I said, and it's going to be 2 with pen and 1 with pencil. So I'm hoping you have your microns for this, but we'll start with the pencil here, and it doesn't matter which lead grade you use to just trace out the rectangle. So I don't need a ruler because I'm just going to use the straight line of the gridded paper to guide me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I want to make this 9 inches long, and if you have a ruler, obviously you can double check that it is 9 inches long. They're going to be each scale, grayscale, is going to be an inch high, and then they're also going to be an inch long. So I'm just going to make 3 of those. I did that with a 6B pencil, and I'm going to, oh yes, I'm going to also start by differentiating each inch by inch square. And then I have this micron. This is 08. This is going to be the larger micron, the thicker felt tip micron. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to create 2 of those. If I use my ruler, that line could have been straighter. I can acknowledge that. I'll use my ruler for this one, and you can always use the straight edge of a book. The books just tend to be a little bit variation of size and kind of heavy, and you also don't want to get pen on a book sometimes, so I don't really, I mean, a ruler's the tool to use for a straight edge. So 9 inches. Obviously, pen isn't as forgiving as pencil, so if you make a mistake with pen, you probably just have to start over again. Now this is not like a finished drawing. This is just really just like a study. So you're going to start with that. Bear with me here through this kind of boring part. Sometimes just organizing the image is, it's actually, I feel like usually the hardest part. Fun begins when you get to start to render things or color things in. So this is how you're going to start. You're going to have 3 different swatches, 2 out of pen, 1 with pencil. Okay, so best approach to this is, let's do the pencil first. I'm going to take my 6B pencil, the heaviest weighted pencil, and I'm going to make this as dark as possible. Just go ahead and warm up with the darkest squares first, get that out of your system. You don't have to do exactly what I tell you to do either. I'm just giving you like my best advice for this. So that is a 6B pencil. And then the middle pencil here, my middle pencil here is the HB. So pretty much what I'm doing is I'm trying to make these grids go from black to white, and I'm trying to find 9 different values of gray to portray a very like even, fluent scale from black to white. So I'm leaving this square as white. This square is going to be black. So up from the white square is going to be the lightest value of gray. So I'm using my 6H pencil, my super resistant lead, and I'm really, really lightly shading that in. You can always add more, but it's easier to add more than it is to erase and take away. So I recommend just kind of starting with the general layer over the entire thing. And then we have our mid-weight lead, which is HB, and I'm going to draw that in as a middle gray value. All I can do right now is just the best that I can. As we are learning this week, there's so many different shades of gray that we're not going to really worry about that. We're just going to try to investigate making 9 that are in perfect gradation from one another. I can always add more pencil on, so I'm just going to start with like kind of just a lighter, just really light drawing. Okay, so then it's really just a matter of, once you lay those 3 down, you can start filling in the in-between. Let me double check something here. Yeah, so these 2, we're leaving one that's white, and then we're doing a mid value here, and we're doing a mid value here too. So we want to have 2 in between one another. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just try to match these. These are almost going to be the same value of gray. But I want this one to have a darker value than the one to the right of it, because if it's going from dark to light. Super straightforward. Just gonna go a little bit darker. I want you to just try to do this 1 square at a time. It actually would probably make it a little bit more challenging. And then in between these 2, like where I still have to work on filling in the gray of these 2, I can play with my other weighted pencils, or just if you don't have these weighted pencils, play with the pressure of my hand and how hard I am really drawing, kind of coloring in the shade of gray. So just a touch bit darker. And then it's pretty obvious, you just fill it out from there. Make this as dark as possible, make this as light as possible. You can always add more graphite with your pencil later. So I actually found this example that from last semester. I was kind of just doing the same demonstration, starting it off and having, you know, my students from last semester just sort of like fill it in, you know, kind of give them this guidance like I'm doing for you. So I want all of these squares to be left white, so you don't have to do anything there. And then all of these squares to be the darkest. The one on the bottom is done with lead. The one in the middle is done with micron. And so this is done with an 0.8 micron, which is the thickest felt tip micron. And I am investigating crosshatch markings in this middle grayscale. So I want you to do your best filling that in. I'm using 0.8 on this side, 0.2 and 0.05, 0.005 is the finest tip. So I would just, you can actually like start probably with the finest tip. For this gray, that's going to be one shade lighter than the one that is to the right on my paper. I'm just going to try to copy that. Pretty much the same. This one's the pen is going to be a little bit trickier than the lead because it's not as forgiving with blending. So I just copied that one to the right, and then I'm just going to embellish and add a few more lines. And I can always add more. These changes are going to be really subtle, but I really want you to try super hard to try to capture using ink and the paper, the white of the paper, to create the type of gray by using cross-hatching lines. And then the very top grayscale experiment is it's going to be more of we don't want cross hatching, but I want you to work on creating your own type of pattern and making your pattern like kind of evolve into a grayscale that goes from black to white. So this is obviously scribbled with my 0.8 pen, scribbled a whole bunch. And then I also did a lot of scribbling to create a texture, circular line marks for the middle ground gray. And then as it gets closer to the white square, there's just going to be more paper than pen applied. And I chose this really organic sort of oblong pattern to create a darker square. So work with the white of the paper, and just always remember that it's easier to add more pencil and pen on than to remove. So just take your time with it and no rush. And if it helps you, since this is just like an experiment, if this helps you, you can write down underneath your squares like, oh, I used an 0.8 micron or an 0.2 micron or a 6B pencil or HB pencil. So you can write that to remind yourself for the future if you like. Please don't leave white underneath your squares, just leave those white. And yeah, just take this as a little experiment and a little bit of time to train your eyes to be able to see more range of gray. All right, thanks.